Welcome back to Life of Logan, where we don't just talk about life. We dissect it, question it, and challenge the narratives we've been fed. Today, we're going deep into one of the most polarizing and complex topics of the human experience, the thin line between love and hate. Let's be honest, most of us have felt it. That moment when someone you love so deeply suddenly becomes the source of your most intense anger. But why does love, the most profound of all emotions, exist on a spectrum that so easily tips into hate? What does that say about us, about love itself? And here's the kicker. Does it mean our love was never real to begin with? Love and hate aren't opposites. They're, in fact, siblings when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. Close, intimate, and often indistinguishable until the context shifts. Think about it. Both emotions demand your energy, your focus, your vulnerability. They make you feel alive. In fact, I've even heard some people argue that hate in some twisted way is love's shadow. It happens when love is betrayed, misunderstood, or ignored. Why do we lash out at the people we care about the most? Because the more we love someone, the more power they hold over us in theory. And when they misuse that power, or we feel like they misuse that power, the hurt cuts deeper than any knife or weapon formed on this earth ever could. Love turns into hate, not because it was never real, but because sometimes it was a little bit too real. Here's a controversial take for you. Love doesn't fail us. Our expectations of love do. We idolize love as this perfect, selfless, everlasting force, but love isn't perfect. It's messy, can be selfish, and oftentimes, as we've seen over the past few years with the rise of social media and certain talking points, it's conditional, whether we want to admit it or not. The problem is we don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with the idea of them, the version of them that fits perfectly into the story we've written for ourselves. When they deviate from the script that we have in our head, when they show us their flaws, their humanity, that's when love starts to crack. And what rushes in to fill those cracks? Hate, to an extreme case, but oftentimes it's resentment and disappointment. So let's dig deeper in this. Why does hate feel so consuming, so intense? Because it's rooted in fear. Fear that we're not enough. Fear that we wasted time on someone who didn't value us. Fear that the love we gave wasn't returned in the way we needed it or wanted it to be. Hate is love's armor. It's our way of protecting ourselves from the pain of rejection, betrayal, or indifference. But here's the catch to all of that. When we give into hate, we're not just protecting ourselves from others, we're also cutting ourselves from love. And in doing so, we lose a part of our humanity because everyone needs love in this world. So I know you're asking yourself, what's the takeaway here? Are we doomed to oscillate between love and hate, never finding the balance? I don't think so. But it requires a level of self-awareness and emotional maturity that most of us aren't taught to develop. We need to acknowledge that love and hate aren't mutually exclusive. They coexist, often in the same space. The key is learning to manage that tension, to recognize when our love is turning toxic, to address the fears and insecurities that fuel our hate, and most importantly, to choose compassion even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin, but the coin is, as always, ours to flip. The line between them is thin, yes, but it's also flexible. It bends with our choices, our actions, and our willingness to confront our flaws. So the next time you find yourself teetering on that line, ask yourself this: am I reacting out of love, or am I hiding behind hate? The answer might surprise you, and ultimately, I hope at least, it sets you free. This has been another episode of Life of Logan. Thank you for walking this tightrope with me. And if this episode resonated, or even if it pissed you off, I would love to hear about it in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, remember, the thin line between love and hate is where we find out who we really are. Until next time, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.